In June, the United States begins a trial against 3 Somalis accused of piracy and the murder of 4 Americans at sea. But while more pirates are being convicted in courts around the world, the kingpins who profit more from piracy are continuing their crimes.
VOA reporter Mary Alice Salinas has been looking into the history and the root causes of piracy coming out of Somalia. Before we get into my interview with her, let's start with some of her report.
In the last decade, shipping off the coast of Somalia was subjected to relentless pirate attacks, the numbers peaking in 2011 with 176 reported cases. Now, though, international naval patrols and armed guards on ships are keeping the pirates at bay.
Can you describe to us how the attacks typically work?
They work off this mothership, then they release them into little skiffs, and these guys with these weapons, and they're shooting at it, and these massive ships can't move that fast. Although they've learned some techniques, zigzagging and evading to try to prevent some of this, but that's what they look for, the good and best target, and there apparently is a lot of them out there.
And then once they're on the ship, then, do they kill their hostages? Is that common?
No. Typically they release them because they're all about the ransom money. They're all about the ransom money, and they keep these sometimes for months at a time.
Mary Alice, this issue of piracy off the coast of Somalia, how severe is this problem for the world?
It is a huge problem, and it has been for a few years on multiple levels in governments and securities in some countries, and also what it's costing the world. The World Bank, just in April when they met, said it's costing $18 billion worldwide. So they're massive.
And that's yearly, right?
That is every year.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money. And so this has brought the international community together. It affects everyone. And what's interesting, it has brought together even non-traditional allies. You have China who's working on it. Russia's been affected all the way to the EU, European nations, to the West.
And let's talk about some of those people who are behind it, because I think the most striking thing that I noticed in your report was this assessment that there is government involvement in these attacks.
High-level officials in multiple governments, and that was according to Donna Hopkins, who is with the International Contact Group on Piracy off the Somalia coast. The U.S. currently chairs that contact group.
Now, what's the profile of a pirate?
We have to remember that the pirates are the foot soldiers for these kingpins. These are typically young men from Somalia, and we have to remember this is a country that for more than 2 decades didn't have a real government. Chaotic, violent, famine just in the last 3 years or so, with hundreds of thousands of people fleeing conflict, Al-Shabaab militants. It's a very bad scene there, and so you have these young men where these networks, these criminal enterprises are saying, here's some money.
What about ties to extremist groups? You mentioned Al-Shabaab being so active in Somalia. Are these pirates linked to extremism?
There have been reports that Al-Shabaab has used this as a way to raise some funds. What's interesting is we know that some of the money, according to the contact group, is going to other enterprises for these criminal networks. What are they? I don't know. I mean, could they be funding armed groups? Are there other, how far does this span? Then it raises the question of security, international security. But for right now, this is being treated as a criminal enterprise, not terrorism. And so it's not, they're not going to go in. It's a whole different set of rules. You got to be able to do it within the law, international laws and
maritime laws and
maritime laws. And so it's a very complex situation. And she says we have our eyes on them. And I thought, well, is something going to happen soon to capture these? And it doesn't look like it's going to be soon. It's going to take some time still.
And there are signs that piracy off of Somalia is slowing. The International Maritime Bureau says that in the first quarter of 2013, there were only 5 reported piracy incidents off the Somali coast.
Well, we're taking a break now. First, we want to mention that you can get VOA News anytime on your mobile devices through Google Currents. To get the app, go to voanews.com/currents. You're watching On Assignment.